Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the online Arabic classes offered by Bayt al-Hikmah in Deoband. This is your brother Mufti Anwar Khan al-Qasmi, the managing director of the institute and the lead teacher in it. We are on page number 37 of Al-Qira'ah al-Wadihah, Al-Juz' al-Awwal, part 1, and الدرس الواحد والعشرون, lesson number 21, 21st lesson. The primary idea, the most central concept which has been explored in this lesson is the idea of al-af'al al-mu'talla. Al-mu'tal, al-fi'l al-mu'tal literally meaning a mu'tal verb. Mu'tal verb meaning weak verb. There is a concept of certain weak verbs in Arabic. Weak verbs, al-af'al al-mu'talla or al-fi'l al-mu'tal. Al-mu'tal basically is any verb that has waw or ya. Al-mu'tal is derived from the root al-illah. Al-illah meaning weakness or disease or and harful illah meaning vowel. So if a verb has the vowels waw or ya, that is called al-mu'tal. And if that certain verb has the first radical as harful illah or vowel, that will be known as al-mu'tallul fa. You know, in Arabic verbs, generally there are 3 root letters. Most Arabic verbs have 3 root letters. The first root letter is called al-fa, and the second one is called as ain, and the third one is called as lam. In fact, these 3 names have been taken from the verb fa'ala. Fa'ala meaning to do something. So fa'ala has 3 letters, fa, ain and lam. So in order to express, in order to refer to the first radical, we say this is fa. No matter what verb is there, but still we say this is fa, even though there is no fa. So the first letter in the 3 radicals is referred to as fa, and the second one is referred to as ain, and the third one is referred to as lam. So if any verb in Arabic, coming to the main point, if any verb in Arabic has the first radical as waw or ya, that will be known, that is technically known as al-mu'tallul fa, meaning its first radical has waw or ya, that is weak. And more specifically, it is called as mithal. Al-mu'tallul fa meaning that particular verb has waw or ya in the beginning. That first radical has waw or ya, and this is more specifically, more technically, this is known as al-mithal. So basically, in this lesson, we will discuss the verbs which are mithal, which come under the category of al-mithal or al-mu'tallul fa. So al-mu'tallul fa and al-mithal, both these terms are used for the same type of verbs which have the first radical as waw or ya. Very simple. Okay. And if a certain verb has hamza, so that will be known as mahmuz. If a certain verb has hamza, so that will be known as mahmuz. So al-mu'tal or al-mu'tallul fa or al-mithal and mahmuz, you have to keep these terms in your mind so that it is easier when we speak any of them, you can understand the meaning and the sense. Okay. So all these verbs, Mu'tal and mahmuz, which have been used in this book, they are in past and present both. So you have to be careful about them. Because if the verb is mu'tal, if the verb is mahmuz in Arabic, the mu'tal and mahmuz verbs in Arabic, when they are used in some of their past forms and the present forms and the amr and some other forms, so they undergo some irregularity, some abnormal activity takes place, some abnormal changes and modifications take place in mu'tal and mahmuz verbs. So therefore it is very important to be careful and to identify the forms and do enough practice about them. Okay, we start now. Bismillah. Hamidun kharaja min al-Bayt sabahan. Hamid left the house in morning. Hamidun kharaja min al-Bayt sabahan. Kharaja meaning to leave, to get out, to exit. This is a normal verb. Wa wasala ila al-madrasati fil mi'ad. And he reached the school fil mi'ad on time. Fil mi'ad meaning on time, on the proper time, on the fixed time. So this wasala yasilu, this is al-mu'tal. This is al-mu'tal. And this is al-mu'tallul fa, because the first letter waw, this is fa. This is known as fa. Therefore this is al-mu'tallul fa. And any verb that has a vowel in the first radical, that is known al-mu'tallul fa, and that is also technically known as al-mithal. So wasala, this is al-mu'tallul fa verb. This is a mithal type of verb, and this means to reach. Wa wasala ila al-madrasati fil mi'ad. And he reached the school on time. Raja'a Hamidun ila al-Bayt zuhran. Hamid came back home zuhran, in midday. Zuhrun meaning midday, and zuhrun also meaning midday prayer, meaning zuhr prayer, zuhr salah. So Hamid came back home to house at midday. Wa waqafa bil babi, and he stood by the door. Waqafa again, this is al-mu'tallul fa verb, al-mithal verb, because it has waw in the first radical. Waqafa, waw is the first radical, which is fa, and qaf is the second radical, which is ain, and fa is the third radical, which is lam. Wa waqafa bil babi, and he stood by the door. Huwa taraqa al-baba, he knocked the door. Taraqa yatruqu meaning to knock. He knocked the door. Su'adu sami'at taraqa al-babi. Su'ad heard the knock of the door. So sami'a and taraqa and raja'a and kharaja, these are normal verbs. Qarubat Su'adu min al-babi. Su'ad came close to the gate, to the door. Qarubat, qaruba yaqrubu meaning to be close, to go near. So Su'ad came close to the door. Wa fatahathu, and she opened it. Hamidun wasala ila al-hujrati. Hamid reached the room. Wa khala'a al-libasa. Khala'a yakhla'u meaning to put off, to remove, to put off, to put down, to take off, and he put off the dress. وَلَبِسَ لِبَاسًا آخَرَ, and he put on another dress, So khala'a meaning to put off, to disrobe, to remove, and labisa to wear, to put on. Nazaru Hamidin waqa'a ala al-maktabi. Hamid's eyes fell on the table. Nazaru meaning eye. Hamidin Hamid's. Nazaru Hamidin, Hamid's eye. Mudaf and mudaf ilayh, possessive structure. Hamid's eyes fell on the table. Waqa'a yaqa'u. This is al-mu'tallul fa verb. This is al-mithal verb. Okay. Wajada alayhi risalatan. He found a letter on it. So wajada yajidu meaning to find. Again, this is al-mu'tallul fa or al-mithal verb, a weak verb. Waradati risalatu min al-Qari'ah. The letter came from the village. The letter came from the village. So warada yaridu meaning to come. This is again al-mu'tallul fa verb, al-mithal verb. أخذ حامد تلك الرسالة. أخذ حامد تلك الرسالة. Hamid took that letter. أخذ يأخذ meaning to take. أخذ يأخذ meaning to take. Okay. And this is mahmuz. This is mahmuz because there is hamza in the beginning. So akhada is mahmuz. So mahmuz verb, any verb that has hamza in any of the three radicals, so that is also known as a mahmuz verb. So akhada basically, akhada is also a mahmuz verb, and mahmuz verbs too in Arabic undergo some abnormal changes. Unlike the normal verbs, you already have done enough practice about these types of mahmuz verbs too, like the al-mu'tal verbs. They also undergo some changes, some abnormal changes, some modifications. But there are rules. There are rules. You can master them by applying those rules. وَقَرَأَهَا. So Hamid took that letter and he read that. Again, qara'a, this is mahmuz verb. So in akhada, the hamza was in the first radical, and in qara'a, the hamza is at the third radical. وَوَزَعَهَا فِي الْجَيْبِ. And he put that in the pocket. وَزَعَ يَزَعُ. This is al-mu'tallul fa. This is al-mu'tallul fa verb, and this is al-mithal. Al-mu'tallul fa verb and al-mithal verb, both are used for the same. Okay. Now you have tamreen. You have exercise. In this exercise, the same verbs, most of the verbs which you used in the previous text, they were in the past forms, but now you are going to use the same verbs in their present forms, in mudari' forms. Okay. حامد يصل إلى المدرسة في الميعاد. Hamid reaches the school on time. ويقف بالباب. He stands by the door. ويطرق الباب. And he knocks the door. So the idea behind this tamreen, behind this exercise, is to know, to master the forms of the al-mu'tallul fa verbs. You saw in the previous texts how the past forms are made in case of al-mu'tallul fa, in case of al-mithal, in case of al-mahmuz. And now in this exercise, you have to note the present forms of the same types of al-mu'tallul fa and al-mithal verbs. That is so simple. وَيَطْرُقُ الْبَابَ. And he knocks the door. سُعَادُ تَسْمَعُ طَرْقَ الْبَابِ. Su'ad hears the knock of the door. هي تقرب من الباب. She comes closer to the door. وتفتح الباب. And she opens the door. حامد يصل إلى الحجرة. Hamid reaches the room. ويخلع اللباس. And he puts off the dress. ويلبس لباسا آخر. And he wears or puts on another dress. نظر حامد يقع على المكتب. Hamid's eyes fall on the table. هو يجد الرسالة. He finds a letter. الرسالة ترد من القرية. The letter is coming from the village. حامد يأخذ تلك الرسالة. Hamid takes that letter. هو يقرأها. He reads that. ويزعها في الجيب. And he keeps that in the pocket. So as you saw, these were present forms of the same mithal and mahmuz verbs which were used in the previous sentences. Okay, and now you have as'ila, questions. من يصل إلى المدرسة في الميعاد. Who reaches the school on time? حامد يصل إلى المدرسة في الميعاد. Hamid reaches the school on time. من يطرق الباب. Who knocks the door? حامد يطرق الباب. Hamid knocks the door. هل تصل أنت في الميعاد. هل تصل أنت في الميعاد. Do you reach on time? نعم أنا أصل في الميعاد. Yes, I reach on time. أين وقع نظر حامد. Where did Hamid's eyes fall upon. نظر حامد وقع على المكتب. Hamid's eyes fell on the table. وقع يقع to fall, to occur. هل تقف أنت بالباب? Do you stand by the door? لا, no. حامد يقف بالباب. حامد stands by the door. من أين وردت الرسالة? Where did the letter come from? وردت الرسالة من القرية. The letter came from the village. And on the next page, page number 38, you have some more practice. Okay. In this, you have to fill in the blank. The verb wasala has been used in different forms, in different sighas. You have to use a majroor. You have to use a noun after the preposition ila in all these sentences. Huwa wasala ila al-madrasati. He reached school. Yasilu ila al-madrasati. He reaches school. Hiya wasalat ila al-bayti. She reached home. Yatasilu ila al-bayti. She reaches home. Anta wasalta ila al-junaynati. You reached the garden. Anta wasalta ila al-junaynati. You reach the garden. Anta tasilu ila al-junaynati. You reach the garden. Sil ila al-madrasati. Reach the school. La tasil ila al-madrasati. Don't reach the school. Okay. And then you have anti. Anti wasalti ila al-hujrati. You reach the room. Anti tasilina ila al-hujrati. You reach. This is present tense. And this is wahid muannath, feminine singular, second person. Anti tasilina ila al-hujrati. You reach the room. Sili ila al-hujrati. This is also feminine singular, amr. Sili imperative. Sili ila al-hujrati. Reach the room. La tasili ila al-hujrati. Don't reach the room. Ana wasaltu ila al-hujrati. I reach the room. Asilu ila al-hujrati. I will reach the room. Or ana wasaltu ila al-fasli. I reach the classroom. Ana asilu ila al-fasli. I will reach the room. Okay. So you have to be careful about the different forms in madi, in mudare, in amr, in muannath and muzakkar, because there are some abnormal modifications, abnormal things which happen to the mahmoos and to the al-mu'tallul fa verbs. Tamreen number 2. In this tamreen, 4 verbs have been given, and their different forms have been provided for you to understand the difference between each sigha, each form. Huwa waqafa. So the first line, the first one, this is mudhakkar wahid, third person singular. And the second one, this is muannath wahid and the third person. And then the third line, this is for second person masculine. Then the next one, that is second person feminine, wahid muannath. And then the next one, that is first person, which is called as wahid mutakallim. So waqafa meaning he stood, waqafat she stood, and waqafta you stood, waqafti you stood feminine, waqafta for masculine, waqafti for feminine, waqaftu I stood. So wahid mutakallim for both of them. Wahid mutakallim sigha in Arabic is used for both of them, for masculine and feminine. And yaqifu he stands, taqifu she stands, taqifu you stand. So basically taqifu, the wahid muannas sigha, feminine singular, and masculine second person in wahid mudhakkar hazir and wahid muannas ghaib, they are similar. There is no change, no difference in mudare. Wahid muannas and wahid mudhakkar hadir, wahid muannas ghaib and wahid mudhakkar hadir, their sigha, their form is same, always same. Taqifina, you stand for feminine. Aqifu, I stand for masculine and feminine both. Waqat, he fell. Waqat, she fell. Waqata, you fell. Waqati, you feminine fell. Waqatu, I fell for masculine and feminine both. Yaqa'u, he falls. Taqa'u, she falls. And taqa'u, you fall. Taqa'ina, you feminine fall. Aqa'u, I fall. For masculine and feminine both. Waza'a, he put. Waza'at, she put. Waza'ta, you put. And waza'ati, you put feminine. And waza'atu, I put, for masculine and feminine both. And yaza'u, he puts. And tada'u, she puts. And taza'u, you put. So wahid muannath ghaib and wahid mudhakkar hazir of mudare, only mudare. In mudare, in the present tense form, the wahid muannath ghaib and wahid mudhakkar hazir, their forms are same, but they are not same in madi. In past forms they are not same, they are same in present form only. Tada'ina, you put, feminine. Ada'u, I put, for masculine and feminine both. We can also translate these verbs in future, like you can say yada'u, he will put. Tada'u, she will put. Tada'u, you will put. Tada'ina, you will put. Ada'u, I will put. So basically, as I explained earlier, al-mudhari form is used for present and future both, and it is the context that will confirm for us in what tense a particular verb has been used in a sentence. Wajada, meaning he found. Wajadat, she found. Wajatta, you found. Wajatti, you feminine found. Wajattu, I found, for masculine and feminine both. Yajidu, he finds. Tajidu, she finds. Tajidu, you find. Tajidina, you feminine find. Ajidu, I find, masculine and feminine both. And then you have the amr forms. The amr is little more abnormal. The amr sigha, the imperative forms of Arabic, in case of al-mu'tallul fa, al-mithal and al-mahmuz, they are more difficult than the normal ones. So we have to be careful, and there are rules, and those rules will make it easier for us to understand, to identify the different forms of imperative. So there is nothing to be worried about. Qif. So qif, qifi. Qif, qifi. Qif is wahid mudhakkar and qifi is wahid muannath. From waqafa, to stand. Qif, stand. Qifi, stand. If you want to address feminine, you will say qifi. La taqif, la taqifi. This is fi'lun nahi. La taqif, la taqifi. La taqif, don't stand. La taqifi, don't stand, for feminine. Za, put. Za'i, put, for feminine. La taza, don't put, masculine. La taza'i, don't put, for feminine. Taraqa, he knocked. Yatruqu, he knocks. Utruq, knock. This is command. This is imperative. Utruqi, this is also command for feminine. Knock. La tatruq, don't knock. La tatruqi, don't knock, for feminine. La tatruq for masculine. La tatruqi for feminine, don't knock. Khala'a, to take off, to put off, to disrobe, to remove a cloth from one's body. And yakhla'u, this is mudare. So khala'a yakhla'u. And the amr is ikhla'. Masculine and feminine is ikhla'i. And fi'lun nahi is la takhla'. And then la takhla'i. This is feminine. So khala'a, he put off. Yakhla'u, he puts off. Ikhla', you put off. Amr, for masculine. Ikhla'i, you put off. For feminine, put off. La takhla', don't put off, for masculine. And la takhla'i, don't put off, for feminine. Labisa, he put on. Yalbasu, he puts on. And ilbas, put on, for masculine. Ilbasi, put on, for feminine. Ilbas and ilbasi, they are imperatives. And la talbas, don't put on, don't wear. This is fi'lun nahi. This is for negative command. La talbas, don't wear. La talbasi, don't wear. La talbas is for masculine and la talbasi is for feminine. So you see, in this, only those types of al-mu'tal, those al-mu'tal verbs, those al-mithal verbs have been used in this chapter, in this section, which are most frequent, the most common verbs belonging to the category of mahmuz and al-mu'tallul fa have been used in this. So it is very important, it is essential to learn them, to master them, and to do enough practice on them so that we can understand, we can identify all the different forms in the past, in the present, in the future, and in fi'l al-amr, imperative, and in fi'l al-nahi. I hope that everything is clear in this lesson. See you in the next section soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.